I'm here in Madagascar, a place known for its biodiversity, especially the lemurs that are found nowhere else in the world. But it's also the site of one of the coolest stories in all of human evolution. Thousands of years ago, Madagascar was settled by two different groups of people, those from nearby mainland Africa and those from faraway Southeast Asia. In this video, I'll tell you the fascinating story of what happened when those two groups met, and of the important disease that shaped their evolution. I'm lucky enough to be coming to you from Center Valbaio, a gorgeous research station in the middle of the rainforest in southeast Madagascar. I first came here when I was a little baby scientist, 20 years old. Back then, this fancy building didn't exist, and we slept in tents in the rainforest. I did the math this morning, and I've actually spent almost a year of my life here, which is crazy to think about. The first trips were all about lemurs, but in this one I got a team together to trap mosquitoes in the villages to see which species of mosquitoes are biting humans and which ones are transmitting malaria. Anyway, back to the story. A while back, maybe 1,000 years ago or a couple thousand years ago, people from Indonesia in Southeast Asia and people from East Africa arrived to Madagascar, and they brought with them their unique language and culture and, of course, their genes. Modern Malagasy, the people from Madagascar, are a genetic mix of these two ancestries. Some people have more Asian ancestry, other folks have more African ancestry, but most Malagasy people have a combination of both. And as it turns out, the kind of ancestry that people have at one particular part of their genome is really important in determining whether they get sick from malaria. Malaria is a disease caused by parasites that are transmitted by mosquitoes, and it's also one of the reasons I traveled to Madagascar. One of the types of malaria parasites has the full name Plasmodium vivax, or just vivax for short. It's not the worst malaria parasite to get. It only kills people in relatively rare cases, but the disease can come back again and again in what are called relapses, and during those relapses you can be vulnerable to other diseases. Many of my scientist friends who work in tropical Asia and the Americas have gotten sick with vivax malaria, but I never have. That's because I've mostly worked in mainland Africa, places like the Congo and Zambia and Uganda, and essentially the Africans around me protected me from vivax. You see, most people from tropical mainland Africa are immune to vivax malaria. They have this mutation in their genome called the Duffy null allele, which creates a change in their red blood cells. The vivax malaria parasite needs to infect people's cells to multiply, and it uses the Duffy antigen as a door to get in. People with the Duffy null allele don't have that antigen, and so the parasite can't infect the cells, and the people don't get sick. So without susceptible people to infect, the vivax parasite can't really survive in most of mainland Africa. So it's not something that I or my Congolese or Zambian or Ugandan friends ever needed to worry about. That's not the case in Madagascar, which sits about 250 miles off the coast of East Africa. Africans who arrived there all those years ago brought with them their helpful genetic quirk, which shielded them from vivax malaria. But the Asians who arrived didn't have that shield. So, in the beginning, people from Africa with the Duffy null allele were protected from vivax, and people from Asia without the Duffy null allele were unprotected. But it's in the intermingling of the African and Asian ancestries where the story gets interesting. In a process called adaptive integration, beneficial genetic variants from one population can transfer to the other when the populations start to mix. Here in Madagascar, scientists have found an unusually high prevalence of the Duffy null allele even in people with a lot of Asian ancestry, indicating that when the African and Asian populations came together, the protective African variant was favored and it rose to high frequency. People who had the African variant were protected from malaria, so they were more likely to survive to adulthood, more likely to have more kids, and so on, and the African variant spread like wildfire through the Malagasy population. So nowadays, many people in Madagascar, even those with genomes that look mostly Asian, have this little bit of African ancestry that protects them from vivax malaria. How cool is that? Unfortunately, some vivax parasites may be finding a way in through like a side door to bypass the protection of the Duffy null allele. This could be bad news for the people of Madagascar, as well as the folks in mainland Africa that have previously not had to worry about vivax. It's something that scientists are keeping an eye on, and honestly one of the reasons we're here in Madagascar doing malaria research. So, there you have it. One of the coolest examples of human adaptation, at least in the opinion of this anthropologist. If you like videos about evolution and biological anthropology, please subscribe. This was the first of what will hopefully be a bunch of international videos. But now I gotta go pack up my mosquito trap, start the long journey home. Why can't I say disease? Fogging is fucking annoying. In New York City, It's even weirder here. At least they just dismiss it as weird white people shit.